global issue, and we are already seeing these legislation coming in Japan, in Western Europe, and now part of it already in the United States. Energy companies bring clean fuels and invest in renewable form of energy, and for the consumers is to be really informed and take advantage of incentives so that the most eco-friendly choice can be a good economic solution as well from the beginning of the process. So that's why we think collaboration is essential for us all to succeed. Thank you for your attention.
And finally, before we begin the roundtable, last but certainly not least, as I've discovered over the many months working with him, is David Crane, the President and CEO of NRG. Certainly electrification is more than just putting cars and trucks on the road. And there's been a few more eloquent speakers to this synchronized introduction of all of these elements that are necessary. And like all of our leaders up here and that have already spoken, they do more than just speak. They actually are making things happen on the ground. So let me introduce Mr. David Crane.
Thank you, Robbie, and good morning, everyone. As Robbie says, what I'm here to do is to talk a little bit about what's in the roadmap, and as most of you who know, if you have it, it's a fairly detailed document that a lot of thought went into it from all members of the coalition, so I heartily commend it to you because I won't be able to do it justice in just a few words, and in fact, I'm going to focus on just sort of putting it in context. And I think one of the most important things, probably the main reason we're here, is that what we're talking about is embracing the electrification of the light transport system as a comprehensive, national, bipartisan, multi-generational objective for our country. And I do mean bipartisan, red states, blue states. I think whether your personal politics fall on the left of the political spectrum or the right of the political spectrum, I don't think any American is happy about the fact that the United States sent $400 billion of American wealth overseas to buy petroleum last year. And this, what we are proposing here, would fundamentally change that. As Carlos Ghosn from Nissan pointed out, the real purpose of the public policy that needs to be put in place is to basically facilitate the breaking of the chicken and egg cycle. He described it well, but essentially manufacturers to date, until Nissan has come along, they have not wanted to build cars in bulk for markets for which there's no infrastructure to support those cars. Infrastructure companies like ours, on the other hand, don't want to invest in infrastructure for cars that don't exist. And what we're talking about in the roadmap is something that breaks that. And I think the novelty of the roadmap, I think the single defining aspect of it is that it embraces a foothold strategy. Because in fact, the United States government and various political entities in the United States have supported the electric car for 10, 20, 30 years in a variety of ways, but it's tended to be a scattergun approach that's focused on getting a certain number of cars, actually a fairly modest number of electric cars on the roads, without regard to where those cars are. By pursuing a foothold strategy, what we're trying to do is to focus the concentration of supply and stimulate demand for electric cars initially in 6 to 8 cities around the United States. And that would be phase one of the process, 100 to 200,000 cars in 5 to 7 cities. That would create critical mass in those areas, and we'd learn a lot about how the system works. And then as phase two of the approach, then that would be expanded to 20 to 25 cities. Now, how do we do this? Well, the roadmap calls for hitting both the supply and the demand side. On the supply side, tax credits for car purchases. This is somewhat similar to I think the successful cash for clunkers. You could call this a cash for volts type aspect. But also the roadmap, I think, identifies the fact that in the electric car, and unlike in the internal combustion engine car, we believe that probably in all cases the battery will initially at least be owned and financed separately from the car itself. And there's certain policies put in place to make the ownership and the financing of the battery more affordable. On the demand side, I think the important thing for you to recognize is what this plan is not about, and that is with the electric car, we're not about duplicating the 148,000 service stations that exist around the country to support the internal combustion engine car. What we're doing is recognize that with the electric car, that does not need to be duplicated, because the service station of the future is in your garage. And so the amount of infrastructure that needs to be spent in terms of supporting the electric car is much more limited, I think, than has been given credit before. But there is some work that needs to be done in terms of adapting fast charger networks, which are more of an insurance product, like I said, than a substitute for the service station, and then in terms of doing IT enhancements. So the goals of this roadmap: 123 million electric cars on the road by 2030, 75% of all vehicle miles traveled by 2040, which in turn would be a 75% reduction in the country's oil usage. These are very, very ambitious goals, and they're very long-term goals. And for my part, I don't expect to still be sitting in the position I have when those long-term goals are achieved in 2040, 2050. But if we can get started through this coalition in achieving the short-term goals and the medium-term goals, we would have established a foundation and built the momentum that's crucial to achieve these long-term goals. And it's the goal of ending addiction to foreign oil, a situation that's cruelly constraining to our country's strategic independence and debilitating to our national wealth. If we will have done this, we will have done a valuable and good thing. So thank you very much.
So with that, let me ask all the coalition members to take their seats at the table here. Now, we wanted to play for you the commercial that is playing in Washington. It's a 30-second spot launching the Electrification Coalition, and electrification is solving some of our major problems facing the country.
America's oil dependence, costly, dangerous, destabilizing. The solution? The electrification of transportation. Electricity is diverse, domestic, stable. Mass deployment of electric vehicles will improve energy security, accelerate economic growth, reduce emissions. The goal? More than 100 million plug-in vehicles in 2 decades. The Electrification Coalition, strengthening America by revolutionizing transportation.
Let me now introduce Tom Friedman, columnist for the New York Times, Chairman Wellinghoff of the Federal Electric Regulatory Commission, and Nancy Sutley, the White House Council of Environmental Quality. And Senator Dorgan, Democratic Senator of North Dakota.
Thank you very much. It's a treat to be here for the unveiling of this roadmap. I'm going to approach this as if I knew absolutely nothing. Some people would say I don't, so I wouldn't have to fake it very much. But and I really want you to sell me both on the efficacy and the potential and the reality of actually implementing this electrification roadmap. And just to begin with, because all of you have a different cut on this. Some of you from the infrastructure side, some from the auto side.